Every day, both in your personal and in your professional life, you're making a ton of decisions, both consciously and unconsciously. And by the end of the day, you have made about 35,000 decisions, which can obviously make you feel mentally drained and exhausted. And that is exactly the reason why I was curious to dive into the topic, what does decision fatigue have to do with stress management and performance management? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's video. In today's video, I want to talk with you about what is decision fatigue, what happens when you're feeling mentally drained and decision fatigued, and how can you avoid that. So I would say, let's get started and dive into the main video. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Arndt and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer, and I am super excited to talk with you today about the topic decision fatigue. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you're making a ton of different decisions. Are you taking your phone into your hand? Are you checking your messages? What kind of messages, notifications, and emails are you checking? And then as soon as you get out of bed, you're making more decisions. Are you going into the bathroom? Are you washing your face? Are you brushing your teeth? What kind of things are you doing in the bathroom? And then obviously, what kind of breakfast are you making? Are you making breakfast? Are you making eggs and toast or oatmeal? Are you making tea or coffee? Are you having a glass of water or a glass of orange juice? All of these things are decisions that you are making, oftentimes unconsciously and automatic, which is really good, because if you wouldn't make them unconsciously but consciously, you would drain a lot of energy already early in the morning, and by the time you're sitting down to work, you would already feel mentally drained and decision fatigued. So let's say, first of all, obviously, there is something to be said about it is important that some of your decisions that you're making every single day are automatic. Because if you wouldn't have those kind of decisions already kind of pre-made, then it would take already a lot of energy from you in the morning. And we also know that by the end of the day, the quality of your decisions decreases because you have made so many decisions over the course of the day that kind of your decision battery is a little bit depleted. So that is also the reason why you might make really good decisions in the morning when you wake up. Like, for example, putting your shoes on and going for a run. And by the end of the day, it is a lot more difficult to make smart and good decisions for yourself. And that's obviously where stress management and performance management comes in, because obviously we are talking a lot in stress management about the importance of taking time for yourself and practicing self-care. And if you have already made a ton of decisions throughout the day at work, like for example, which emails to respond to, what to respond to these emails, what kind of meetings to go to, how to organize yourself, what kind of tasks to prioritize, etc., then by the end of the day, you are mentally depleted and you might not make as smart decisions anymore as you wanted to do by the beginning of the day. So for example, you might just sit down on the couch and you might watch some TV and eat some chocolate instead of going outside for a run and taking care of yourself. And so decision fatigue is a very interesting concept, and I want to talk with you now, first of all, what decision fatigue is. Decision fatigue is the idea that after making many decisions, your ability to make more and more decisions over the course of the day becomes worse. The more decisions you have to make, the more fatigue you develop and the more difficult it can become. So decision fatigue is a real problem, and decision fatigue is a real thing that you should be paying attention to in order to make sure that you are staying and sustaining your performance. So the next question then for me was, what is actually happening within ourselves when we are experiencing decision fatigue? And one of the biggest things that can happen to you is that you are starting to procrastinate on tasks. It's going to be more difficult to make decisions. It's going to be more difficult to make smart decisions. So you might start to procrastinate and think, I don't really feel like doing this. I feel really energy depleted. I feel like I can't focus well enough. So that is, for example, one of the things that can happen when you are experiencing decision fatigue. Another thing that might happen when you are experiencing decision fatigue is that you are starting to avoid decisions altogether. Maybe you're not making any decisions, or you're experiencing paralysis analysis and you're feeling stuck in the process. All of these different things can happen when you have already made a ton of different decisions over the course of the day. I, for example, remember when I bought this house in 2016, I had to make a ton of different decisions because I did some reconstruction on the house and I had to make all of these different decisions. Not only what kind of materials I'm using, but also obviously what kind of contractors I'm using. And then by the end of the construction period, I also obviously had to furnish the whole house. And I remember that by the end, I was so decision fatigued that I was like, I don't even want to make any decisions anymore. And I was just saying to contractors and friends, please just make this decision for me because I'm feeling mentally drained and I do not want to make these decisions anymore. That was also the time when I realized there are really a lot of different options in our lives and so many different things that we can choose from. So if you are, for example, going to a supermarket or you're going to a home store market, you can see how many options there are actually available, and sometimes it can feel super overwhelming to make these kind of decisions, which either make you obviously avoid decisions altogether, or maybe you also feel like you're not making the right decisions. So there might also be some kind of imposter syndrome happening, that you feel like, did I actually make the right decision, or should I have maybe gone for this other option or for this other option, right? So it can also make you feel maybe less confident than you felt at the beginning of a task that you were tackling. So it is really important to understand how can you avoid decision fatigue. And that's exactly what I want to talk with you about in the next section of today's video. So the big question is, what can you do in order to avoid decision fatigue and mental drain? And the very first thing that I always love to talk about is routines. It can be very, very powerful to establish healthy routines in your life in order to make sure that you're making smart, healthy and good decisions right at the start of your day. So for example, for me, and I have talked about this many times before, it is really important that I am following my morning routine. I have established a specific morning routine in order to make sure that in the morning I am taking care of myself and I'm making smart decisions. And I have repeated this routine over and over and over again, so that now I'm not making any conscious decisions anymore what I'm doing in the morning, because it has become so ingrained in me and so automatic that I'm just doing these good things every single day. And that's exactly why routines are so powerful and why they really help you to set yourself up for success in the morning and avoid overwhelm. If you want to learn more about routines, make sure to check out that video on my YouTube channel in order to learn the step-by-step process of how to establish and build new routines. And the next thing that we know as well is that it is better to make a decision in order to really think about what kind of decisions should I actually make. So you need to let go of perfectionism and you need to just get things done in order to make sure that you're moving forward. So this is a really important thing as well, because oftentimes we might feel like we're starting to get stuck in our decision-making process and we might procrastinate for days or even for weeks an important decision that is lingering. So let go of perfectionism, make the decision and move forward to the next task. Another thing that is really powerful to do in order to avoid mental drain and decision fatigue is to start to create lists and then stick to these specific lists. So sometimes it might be really difficult to make all of these different decisions, but if you are really clear on the process of what kind of decisions or what kind of tasks you have to take care of throughout the course of the day, then you can just stick to the list. So make sure that you're creating some sort of automatism and lists in order to help you reduce the number of decisions that you have to make later in the day. And that can also include creating rules. So for example, specific boundaries in order to help you stick to these specific boundaries. Again, I think the more clear you are on what is important in your life and what you need to do in order to take care of yourself, the better decisions you make. So creating rules, creating lists, all of these different things can be super, super helpful in order to help you through the day. The next thing that you can do in order to avoid mental drain is to take obviously regular breaks. And you know that I'm talking about this all the time, but it is really, really important to help you really refuel yourself and refill your energy capacities and reserves by taking regular breaks. I know that especially when you're having a super full day, it can be really, really difficult to make that decision as well, which is why it can be, for example, super helpful to have break reminders or specific breaks set out in your calendar every single day in order to make sure that you are not even having to make this decision of taking a break. They are just scheduled for you and then you just follow it, right? This is a little bit of an automatism and a routine as well, but I promise you, once you get into that rule and once you get into kind of more of that process of taking breaks on a regular basis, it will really help you to refresh your brain, take a moment to completely disconnect and then start again. Another really powerful tool when you want to avoid decision fatigue is to delegate decisions. So maybe you don't want to make all the decisions by yourself, but there are other people that can actually help you make decisions. That can be your partner, your family member, a friend, but it can obviously be in the workplace as well, a colleague, your manager, or maybe even a leader. So make sure that you're delegating decisions, and if you're having a hard time to decide what you want to do, get help and delegate these decisions. And the final thing that you can do in order to avoid decision fatigue and mental drain is to get help and to maybe talk with a coach or a therapist or a mentor about the decisions that are lingering and that you have to make. That can be really helpful as well, because sometimes it just requires us to talk through a couple of different options and things in order to help us find a specific decision or next step. So it is really doable to become better at decision making and avoiding mental drain because of decisions, okay? And that's the most important thing I think that I learned as I was working through all of the research and all of the insights about decision fatigue. So if you are feeling decision fatigued right now, I hope that you have found one or the other tool that really resonated with you in order to take the next step. And that is the most important thing. As you know, I always talk about this. Make sure that you're taking action. Don't just listen to this kind of information, but make a decision and take the next step. Take action. That is the most important thing, and that's what I'm going to leave you with today. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video and leave me a comment down below and let us know what kind of decisions are you having a hard time making right now. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I really hope to see you in the next one.